Hello everyone, and welcome back to Lyre. I am not tired. You can't prove anything. I, yeah. What we were talking about our dream to Leaf. Yeah, we're doing the thing. Leaf is gazing at me, taking everything in and giving me his full attention. I had hoped that this was just a coincidence, but it feels like much more than that. What things did you see? I saw Elena's murder. Murder. That is the word. He was a reptile in a black cloak. What color? What color were his eyes? He blurts this out immediately with a look of determination on his face. Red. Almost glowing. He crosses his arms tightly across his chest and then looks at the floor with a thoughtful glance. I want to tell him about how I saw him in the dream, but Leaf speaks before I can. This is very odd. He folds up the piece of parchment and places the quill back on the desk. Thank you for telling me this. I'm going to go and see what I can figure out with a little time before the festivities. You seem well enough to go about your day, but I would suggest resting up a bit before tonight. He walks over to the door and opens it. I'll look for something to help with the nightmares, and I'll let you know if I find anything. He steps through the door and closes it with a soft thud. Lyle is still standing there, looking at the floor. He seems afraid. I can see his tail tucked between his legs. What's wrong? He looks up at me with a solemn look. His anxiety rubs his thumb between his fingers. Lyle? Yes, Richter. How did you get that scar? He brings a paw to his face and gently rubs at the old wound. I got it from the... He fidgets with his paws and his tail droops a bit. I know this must be a uncomfortable topic, but would you mind telling me what happened? You don't have to if you don't want to. His chest inflates as he takes a deep breath, and he begins to speak. I told you about how I squired for Lord Brine before I was knighted, correct? Yes. I was 13 at the time, and the king requested Lord Brine to meet them halfway at the outpost in the canyon. The king and queen were on their way back from a trip to Dries. They wanted him to be there for an important discussion with a Dryzen diplomat. It was a long trip, and I was very excited. It was my first time outside the kingdom. I didn't get to see that much, though. Just the northern run and some of the canyons. They were huge, but nothing like the mountains west of here. He jerks his head in the direction of the window, where the mountains rolled down to the water's edge. On our way back, the attack happened. I was among some of the soldiers who were part of the defense. I didn't have much training, but I held my own pretty well. And thankfully, I didn't have to kill anyone. I can see his words caught in his throat. But I fought him. The man who killed her. Really? I'm sure of it. His tail is now stiffly tucked between his legs. It was a very quick fight. He was running towards the valley, the Royal Canyon. No, not canyon. It's fine, guys. A carriage, and I cut his tail. He turned around and grazed me with his knife. It cut a huge gash into my face, but thankfully my eye is fine. I can still see out of it, but not as good as my other. He looks at the ground, clenching his fist. Can we not talk about this? Of course. Thank you. I just don't like to talk about it because every time I ask myself a question, what would have happened if I stopped him? Things could have been different. And I can see his eyes welling up with tears. I get out of bed and envelop him in a warm embrace. His armor is cold on my bare chest. It's okay. And none of that is your fault. We can't change the past. He seems a bit shocked at the sudden physical contact, but he returns the favor and wraps his arm around me. Thank you, Richter. That was a really awful event. We step back from each other, and I sit down onto the bed. I just have one more question, and it's not about that. What is it? Your family, the Reed family. Yes. I'm not very familiar with them. Iron is... I still don't know, guys. I still don't know. We don't hear much about other nobles, especially from Lyre. Would you mind telling me about them? Not at all. The Reeds are a very old family. Records of our lineage date back almost 500 years. Wow, that's a long time. He nods his head enthusiastically. Yes, and our family has served the Ozian family for generations. At one point, we were the second most powerful family in all of Lyre. But over the years, that has changed. The Reeds are dying out. There isn't a lot of us left. My father, Marcus Reed, is the lord of our large keep in the Golden Timber. I am his only child and have no interest in women, so I cannot continue the family name. He says this with a hushed voice. He can pester me all he wants, but I'm not getting married. Especially now that I've given my life to the heart to this kingdom. So our family will most likely die out, but I've accepted it at this point. Once my father passes away, I'll be the last Reed. Has a nice ring to it. It does. I guess it does. I just have one more question. Yes? What does your family crest look like? Ah, yes. It's, He pods over to my desk and grabs a piece of parchment and a quill. Do you mind? No, not at all. He starts drawing on a paper as he describes it. The area where I'm from, the Golden Timber, is a little bit northwest of here. It's called that because when it snows, the trees will shine like gold, and the rays of sunshine pass through their snow-covered leaves. It is said that when my ancestor, Radolf Reed, was born, it was during an eclipse. This was when the founders of my family decided to make our crest an eclipse. He finished his drawing and swipes the parchment off the desk. Here, this is what it looked like. Okay. That is indeed shapes. He holds up a drawing of a symbol that I recognize. It was painted on his armor in my dream. I have never seen this symbol anywhere else before. It's not on Lyle's armor, considering the royal armor is plastered with the Ozian crest. Another sharp pain flows through my body as I try to remember. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Just a small headache. Lies come easy to me when I'm telling half-truths. You should rest for a bit. The ball is tonight, and I don't think you'll want to miss it. You have your outfit ready, right? Yeah. Great. Will I be seeing you there? Yes, I'll be there. I'll be doing my job, but I'll be there. Now is my chance. I really want to ask him if he would like to go with me. Are you, going with anyone? I can see his tail swish side to side. No, I'm not really going with anyone. I would rather just go to have fun, you know. Oh, yeah. Damn it. I feel the same way. The next few seconds are extremely awkward. Why am I so bad at this? I find it silly how I'm able to ask heavy questions like the ones I've been asking for the past day. But I can't ask a handsome wolf to a dance. Now that I'm thinking about it, I've never been good at romance. Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna leave now. I suggest you get some rest. Okay. He walks over to the door. I'll see you this afternoon then? Of course. He opens it and walks through, closing it softly. Once the door is closed, I lay down in bed and pull the covers up over me. I'm still trying to comprehend the dream that I had. It was similar to the others, but much more vivid. Considering the way things played out, I'm not entirely opposed to the idea of being some sort of vision. That they just scares me though. I lay there for a few minutes, trying to fall asleep, but my mind keeps racing. After a couple minutes of focusing my mind, on other things, I managed to become drowsy. The next few hours are filled with restless sleep as I find myself tossing and turning in bed. No, okay. I guess a shorter chapter? Okay, that's reasonable. I slowly come to, feeling extremely delirious. Wait, did I say that word right? Is that word? Delirious. Thankfully, there were no nightmares or any dreams for that matter. My sleep was very empty and as black as night. I suddenly realized that the disturbance that had awoken me, that had woken me up, was the noise of knocking at my door. The knocking gets louder as I stumble out of bed and throw a coat around my naked torso. Whoever is at the door clearly has something urgent to tell me. Just a moment. I open the door and I reach for the door and open it, expecting to see Lyle or Leaf. Prince Adrius? He recoils a bit at my surprise, but quickly composes himself. Lord Richter. He looks me up and down with a judgmental gaze. I see you still aren't dressed for the ball. I awkwardly pull a coat more tightly around my body to cover up. It's the best I can do considering I'm only wearing a pair of loose trousers and no shoes or socks. I was resting. What could he possibly want with me? He would No, why would he be here to see me? Usually whenever we have a simple chat, it's in the the dining chambers or the halls. Please come in. I usher for him to enter, but he stays standing in the doorway. I decide to humor myself and make him uncomfortable by insisting upon it more. Your Highness, it's very cold out, and I would rather not let a draft in. He's hesitant, but walks into the room and takes a seat in one of the chairs, dusting it off first. I doubt it's outside your understanding as to why I am here. I take a seat at my desk and place my hands in my lap. Actually, I have not the slightest idea. It's a little bit surprising. Yes, I suppose it is. After this brief interaction, a long moment of silence follows. He sits there, tracing his fingers along the patterns on the fabric of his chair he's sitting in. Every moment that passes, I just wish that I was somewhere else. I can no longer bear the senseless amount of silence that echoes throughout the room, so I clear my throat. It's nice to see that your horns have grown back already. He instinctively brings his hands up to his horns and runs his fingers up to the tip. Yes, that oil does seem to work wonders. I take it you'll be able to attend the ball then tonight, without any embarrassment. He lowers his head from caressing his horns and looks at me. No, I don't think I will be attending tonight. As much as my father wishes me to. He pauses for several seconds, looking out the window with a glare in his eyes. I apologize for my outburst the other day. It was an embarrassing moment for me, and I regret my actions. Do my ears deceive me? Am I getting a heartfelt apology from the prince himself? I can't help but wonder if this is even happening. He almost chokes those last words out. Your Highness, all is forgiven. It did not affect me as bad as you would think. That's good to hear. But that is not why I'm here. There he is. It was all formality, as I predicted. The reason I am here has to do with yesterday's events. He sits up a bit and stares into my eyes. His eyes are big and have bright golden brown pupils. Oh, yes, I was acting a bit irrational. It's okay, I understand. You're just being irrational. That's my favorite quote from Kamen Rider Gaim. Michi did nothing wrong. See, it's a good thing that none of my listeners like Kamen Rider. It's a good thing. I must have been terribly delirious, but I am feeling much better now that... You know what happened. Sorry, what? My mother's death. What happened 10 years ago. As irrelevant as it is. How come you came... How did you come to find out about this information? You arrive here, a clueless, naive ambassador, clearly only armed with your people skills, and yet... He pauses to shake his head as he prepares his next rude yet witty comment. And yet you still lack in that regard. Now wait just a moment. And now only a little over 2 weeks into your stay here, and you already know of this tragic event. And with such detail. He stares at me with an intensity I've never seen before. It's almost as if you were there when it happened. His fist is clenched tightly enough to where I can see the fabric stretching and creasing. I'm not really sure what he's implying by this, but I know that he is definitely not happy. All sense of casual conversation is now gone, and tension rises in the room. I place my hands on the desk and drum my fingers on an open book. Yes, I guess it would seem like that. But as unbelievable as it may sound, it was from a nightmare. He lowers his fist, yet still maintains his deadly eye contact. I've come to the conclusion that it was pure coincidence, nothing more. This isn't the case, but I would rather not make a fool of myself in front of him as I did the others. The more and more time passes, the more I regret reacting in such an undignified manner. I understand that almost anyone would react in that way if something like that happened to them, but I can't help but feel stupid. It was merely a few traits from the nightmare coinciding with the events. No, some of those traits could not have been coincidence. Everything from your account was perfectly accurate to how Father described the original events. Wait just a moment. How do you know so much about what happened yesterday? He quickly stands up from his chair. Never mind how I know. I don't know what you're up to, and I don't like it. I quickly stand from my desk. He can clearly see that I am not enjoying these vague accusations. I don't like how he thinks he can treat people like this, and if I'm going to be advising him in the distant future, he needs to learn what that means. I don't know what you're talking about, Adrius, but I am certainly not up to anything. You may be the prince, but don't let that give you the impression that you can come into my quarters and accuse me of treasonous behavior. I haven't said or done anything that should lead you to this conclusion. After I'm done shouting, I feel a sense of triumph. You would expect someone like him to be completely shocked by my sudden outburst. He's probably never been told off by anyone beneath him before. Despite my judgment, he just runs his hand along the arms of his chair as he walks towards the door, looking me in the eye. I never said anything about treason. He reaches the door and opens it, a thick gust of cold air flying into the room and settling on the floor. Father has told me that once I am king, you will be my advisor. Even though I feel that is something I should choose. Allow me to bestow some advice to you, Lord Richter. Before that time comes. He steps out into the hall, holding the door open. I would watch what I say and do in this castle. The walls have ears, and oh, how they love to listen. With that, he exits. The door closes behind him with a muffled thud. I'm still standing at my desk, my muscles straining and my head feeling a bit weak. That edgy little brat. I say this in a low voice after hearing that last comment. Sometimes I'm surprised that we're only a little over a year apart. All right, I'll end the part here, everyone, so I'll see you around.